What's up, guys? Stackin Bits here. Got a little bit of information I'd like to share a couple of different perspectives I've been looking at. It's been a long time since I shared any sort of video content, and I think price is in an extremely interesting place right now. And some of the stuff I wanted to share is probably a bit more complex than what I can clearly share in a simple post. So. That'll probably be a little bit of a blend between market update slash, maybe some educational insight as well in the video. Educational insight maybe from the standpoint of just explaining some of the things that I'm marking off here. So I'm going to mark off a couple of structure breaks here. When I say structure breaks, I mean these candles right here. And we're going to draw some comparisons. I'm not talking fractals. What I'm talking about is cycles, essentially. Some anatomy of cycles and some things that I look at. So we've got this swing high. This is a weekly chart. Swing high, swing low. We break up through. So this is a broken structure. And we have some continuation. Then it tops out, it comes back, and we've got a bullish rejection at this structure. And we have another impulse up from there. I mean, you can see we have another structure here. We can mark this one off just for shits and giggles, just to demonstrate. So here's another broken structure. It pops up, it comes back, and it's again bullish rejection in this mid-range and more continuation. Now you can see that this last pop-up, as this thing bleeds down, this basically laid the framework. So this structure supported this entire downtrend before breaking at the midpoint and bleeding down, and it bled down into the next structure. So plenty of logic here. And there's been more information that you can look at. Swing highs. There's three basic candles that I tend to take a look at: swing lows, swing highs, and the candles that break structure. Between those, I think you've got an awful lot of information to make decisions. So yeah, this thing broke down, and then it was contained by the swing high once it had broken down and worked its way up. So to take a look, I mean, why did I mark this candle? It might be a question because you've got an awful lot of structure breaks over here. We've got, if I was going to draw a box across these things, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different structures that were wiped out in this impulse to the upside. This was the last one that was not broken. It was attempted at 4 times but rejected every time as this thing continued to bleed its way down before finally structure breaking to the downside. So there's other structures that I could have marked off here, but I have marked off this one simply because this is the one that has been respected. This is the one relevant to current price action that's taking place right now. If we were to zoom in on this thing and take a look at some of the details on the daily, we could look back at some of the past action and just demonstrate how these levels function. We broke down into this mid-range, pop-up rejection, bleeds down, interaction with that swing high, bleeds down, popping off the top of this structure, and dip into the mid-range of this structure before popping up. And this is essentially this action right here, this pop up, rejection, boom, this area right here is your flip. And then we have our breakout. We smash into the resistance of the next structure, pop up into it, test the mid, and kind of ping pong here, hold our ground inside the structure, test up into it again, and then we have a clean breakthrough here, and this is a clean flip. And this is a clean flip within the high time frame structure, but also just within this price action alone. This was obviously a flip just on top of this support. Breakout, and then from there, this one is probably not quite the same because we actually have another structure break within this that we could mark off on the daily. Some similarities here. We got this structure break that's a daily structure break. This is a mini cycle, obviously, in comparison to the previous one. But you can see that this bullish structure break is what created support until this thing finally broke down. And now we have a breakout happening here, which is awesome. Some places that I would look at, so if we were going to look at this in a similar fashion, where's this thing going to go? The next structure that's in play would be this structure right here. So it has smashed into that. This is so tight and so close, I don't really anticipate that this is going to do much but cause a flip. Um, sorry, I'm getting drawn into details here. I wanted to keep this kind of concise, and I'm going to mark off this level right here as a level I see as interesting. This is the top of the swing low on the weekly. If we zoom in on this guy, we can see that that created resistance for this swing high of this structure. There was a breakout here that got price up into here, and the swing high on the weekly, the swing low on the weekly. So this is a very pivotal area. So marking that off to take a look at that, and eventually what I do see is the possibility of some kind of flip back onto this as as we had here. So, here's the bleed down cycle. Here's the breakthrough structure, the pullback and the upward impulse. Here's the breakthrough structure, the pullback, the impulse. Our breakdown in structure, we've got the structure that's holding it, and now we're moving up. So we're moving up from this structure, which would be a move similar to this, and we would be looking for the pullback. Price action is an awful lot tighter in here. There's a lot more levels in a smaller space, so that just means more possibilities. I mean, there's no way to determine or predict exactly what's going to happen, but essentially what I'm doing here is marking off levels that I deem to be important and watching reactions on lower time frames and making my decisions from there. So we're moving up. We've broken out of this thing. This structure has held, so I'm anticipating that we're probably going to see some, when we have a rejection, I'd like to see a respect on top of this thing, and some continuation from there would be pretty amazing. To take a look at, it's just to note this guy, this one that's caused these rejections. I think this becomes a critical flip point in the future when we get back above this thing, perhaps on a weekly next time, and get a weekly close above here. I think this will be a flipping zone for sure, and that's when we can we could just call this level the launch pad, ready to run. Another perspective that I can share here would be this guy. This is the monthly. I got 3 things marked off here. A little bit different logic here, but based off some similar concepts. This is a monthly chart, Bitstamp chart, so longer chart history to take a look at the macro look at this thing. Now I've got marked off monthly swing lows, and these candles that are marked are monthly structure breakers. We've only had 3 bearish monthly structure breakers in the history of the Bitcoin chart. So I deem that to be of significance and some importance to watch. So just to kind of dive in and explain what's happened here. Here's our swing low on the monthly. Here's our break. It pops back up into the mid range, rejected, bleeds down. We have another break, and that broke down and was supported by this swing low. And then we moved sideways, turned our way back up into this mid range. And for several months we had resistance in the mid range, and then we finally broke through and popped out. And then there's our flip. Bam. We did have another little mini flip over here on this one. That would have been a little flip that occurred over here, but I'm not going to mark every single little detail. This is just trying to keep the chart simple and the concept simple so everybody can follow and make some sense out of it. So what we've got right now is an extremely similar scenario. Here's our structure break over here. Here's our swing low on the monthly. And the way that you want to think about this is when you have a swing low, we've gotten back above the swing low. That's a pivotal point. It's a swing low. It needs to hold. If it breaks down, our next swing low isn't until down here. So we want this range to hold. Right now, it really has a look like this is the bottom to me. We're starting to make upward momentum, and the setup looks pretty clean for continuation from here. But a lot of different things could happen. We could have a violent stab down into here, and it could reject. We could have, if this thing were to bleed down into here and start to look like some bearish rejections, and it broke down, there would that would be a really messy scenario. The levels I'd be looking at would be here at this top of this swing low at 42-ish, 43-ish. Another one here at 29. Next one down here is around 1300-ish, and then the top of this swing high here is around 1100. To share that same concept with, what the fuck is this? I don't understand what that is. That same concept. So the way this worked is we had this structure holding up here. Once it broke, price moved to the next to test the next structure before moving upward. Now let's pretend that this breaks down and this structure doesn't hold. Well, the next structure would be all the way down here on the weekly, and it wouldn't even be a very big structure. There's pretty massive gap here, so we would be looking at something that's a fairly similar story that would be told by this other chart. But this isn't what I think is going to happen. I think we're going to hold at these levels, and things look pretty promising that it's bottoming out right now, in my opinion. But it's always good to take everything into consideration. Now, zooming in, here's the reactions off that monthly level. So, and this is looking awful positive. So cheers, guys. That's a quick little breakdown, some perspective on what I'm looking at on the market. I'll try and perhaps make some other videos of other ways that I utilize entries and exits and things like that based on this system and how I work with market structure and the action of candles, rejection candles and such. But word, palabra. That's how I say it down here. Palabra arriba. Yeah, guys. Cheers. Hope all's well. Make some dough. Peace.